Collections Catalog Librarian. Happy California Native American Day! It's been a beautiful, vibrant day of celebrating American Indian cultures here at the library. We're so pleased that this event coincided with the Native Youth Conference. If you are here with the Native Youth Conference, we welcome you. On behalf of the Library Diversity Committee, I would like to thank all of you for coming to the opening reception of not one, but two Native Voices exhibitions. The first one is Native Voices, Native People's Concepts of Healing and Illness, was curated by the National Library of Medicine. The American Library Association tours the traveling exhibition. The content of over 100 interviews of Native Americans, Alaska Natives, and Native Hawaiians is on iPads located in the Leon S. Peters Ellipse Gallery right behind me. More content is also available via iTunes and Google Play. Native Voices, the second exhibition, Native Voices from the San Joaquin Valley, was curated by Mandy Marine and Carly Tex and Julie Tex, along with Adam Wallace and myself. This exhibition provides a glimpse of American Indian cultures here in the San Joaquin Valley through examples from everyday life, plants that are used for food and medicine, utensils and tools, toys and games, jewelry and beadwork, basketry, and more. That exhibit is open for your enjoyment after our panel discussion today in the Special Collections Research Center on the 4th floor of the South Wing, and it will be open until December the 9th. There are many people I'd like to thank. The Native Voices Planning Committee members, would you please all raise your hands? Gretchen Higginbottom, Brandy Jeremiah, Vicki Krentz, Tammy Lau, Mandy Marine, Gregory McGee, Jennifer Reese, Carly Tex, Julie Tex, Bang Bang, Adam Wallace. All of us have worked a long time putting this together. This event comes to you with special thanks to the Henry Madden Library, including the Library Diversity Committee and the Arnie Nixon Center. Is Jennifer here? There's Jennifer, the President's Commission on Human Relations and Equity. Raise your hand if you're on the PCHRE, and the Center for Creativity and the Arts. We also had help from the American Indian Faculty and Staff Association, First Nations Indigenous Student Organization, Cross-Cultural and Gender Center, Department of Public Health, and Fresno American Indian Health Project. Now I would like to introduce our interim Associate Vice President of Faculty Affairs, Dr. Rudy Sanchez. I sit with Dr. Sanchez on the University Personnel Committee and PCHRE, so I know firsthand all about Dr. Sanchez. He is an administrator who not only talks the talk, but walks the walk. Dr. Sanchez embraces diversity and strives to create an environment where every student understands that they are welcome here at Fresno State. He understands how important it is for students to be able to relate to role models in leadership positions such as faculty members. Dr. Sanchez has a long list of many achievements, including being the Director of Academic Technology and Innovation, where he led the development of teaching and learning aspects of Fresno State's mobile learning program. He's an award-winning teacher. He is recognized for his research in the areas of leadership, innovation, strategy, and educational technology. So please welcome Dr. Rudy Sanchez.
Wow, I wasn't expecting that, to be honest with you. Thank you, Julie, for that great introduction. And Julie's right. I think one of the things that I strive in my work is always to make people feel welcome. So welcome to Fresno State. The people in our campus community, the people from our general community, and our tribal elders and leaders, we do value you and we certainly welcome you here. The welcome goes beyond students, really. It goes to faculty, it goes to staff. We all need to feel welcome in order to succeed as best as we can in a university environment. And I appreciated the blessing, especially keeping the university a positive place. If you paid attention to the news recently, you know the university has received several accolades nationally, which is a great thing. It speaks to the work that's being done by all of us in the university community, especially over the last few years. There's a lot of energy, a lot of positive energy on the campus, and to the extent that all of that is interconnected amongst all of us in this place, the place that's the university and the place that's a larger community. That really is all of our work, and all of our attention needs to be paid to those things. Earlier this afternoon, I actually had a chance to get a sneak peek at the exhibit. So I think you'll really find the exhibit interactive, interesting. The ideas of interconnectedness resonate with me personally from a cultural perspective, but also from a disciplinary perspective. I have training in something called systems science, and that's the study of systems as a whole. And I think the native cultures really bring this to the forefront in terms of looking at people and our environment as a whole, and seeing those interconnections. While I think it's always really important to make sure that we share our cultural backgrounds and our heritage, and that we learn from others as well, that's probably really important today. There's a lot of, I would say, negative energy in the environment, and it's only through the acknowledgement of this interconnectedness that we can really overcome that and protect our communities and develop them even further. I also like the idea that we are interconnected as people with each other and over time. And you'll see in the exhibit that there's a large emphasis on cultural history and history in general. And to understand that it is important to have that stretch over a period of time and across generations is really critical. So I hope that you've taken a minute to really learn about the history of the native cultures here. I also really like the idea, and it's somewhat counterintuitive from a Western perspective, a traditional Western perspective, about this interconnectedness between wellness, illness, and culture. And I obviously one of the highlights of this particular exhibit here is that interconnectedness. And so I, again, encourage you to take a look at the various exhibits, the different ways that interconnectedness is presented, in sometimes maybe familiar ways, and I think in many times very surprising ways. To look at the history and the culture and wellness and illness as a whole. So I do really hope that you enjoy the exhibit, and I think you will. Native Voices really is another part of what the university is trying to do to understand and to share the environment that we live in across all peoples. And I appreciate all the work that was done to bring the exhibit here, because as you've heard, it's a number of people and a lot of work over a period of time. So I do hope that you enjoy the exhibit. Once again, welcome to Fresno State, and have a great evening. And if you're in the area again while the exhibit's here, please visit again to take your time to look through the exhibit. So thank you and welcome.
Thank you, Rudy. Okay, I would like for the moderator and the panelists to take your places. The Henry Madden Library Diversity Committee agreed to host the traveling exhibit in hopes of stimulating respectful discussion about the interconnected relationships of health and well-being, illness, cultural life, environmental life, and spiritual life of American Indians. Now, I would like to introduce the moderator and panelists that are coming up here. Our moderator is Vang Vang, right here. She is my colleague. I'm so proud to call her my colleague. She's a librarian here and a Center for Faculty Excellence Fellow. She is the campus coordinator for the Affordable Learning Solutions Initiative. She has taught Asian American Women's Studies and University 1 classes at Fresno State. Vang has published articles in a variety of journals and has presented at many national and international conferences. She also serves on the Library Diversity Committee. Mr. Keith Turner. So I only had here, it keeps changing. You explained all of the different tribes that you come from. Now I had Dumna, Mono, and Cherokee, but I guess there are about three or four more. So Keith was raised in Auburn and is currently a transporter for the Fresno American Indian Health Project. He is a spiritual leader who is well known throughout the San Joaquin Valley. He recognizes the need to achieve wholeness of self through ceremony and traditional living and serves as a teacher of traditional culture and spiritual ways. Dr. Vicki Krentz is Cherokee. Okay, Vicki is a professor of the Department of Public Health. She is recognized for her work in program planning and evaluation with a focus on tobacco prevention. Over the years, she has authored and co-authored books, book chapters, and numerous articles in a variety of professional journals. Her recent book chapter can be found in Complementary, Alternative, and Integrative Health, a Multicultural Perspective. And that is hot off the press. I think we just ordered it. She currently serves on the American Indian Faculty and Staff Association here at Fresno State. And Ms. Jennifer Ruiz is Chukchansi. Jennifer was born and raised in Fresno/Clovis and is an enrolled member of the Picayune Rancheria of Chukchansi Indians of Corsgold, California. Jennifer is the executive director of the Fresno American Indian Health Project. So without further ado, please welcome tonight's moderator, Bang Bang.
I think I want to sit with the panel so that way we all can have this discussion together. And I want to thank you, each and every one of you, for being here tonight and for helping us celebrate a very, very special day for all of us of being human beings, of just being here and being connected and being able to express our positiveness about the library, about the university, and about being here celebrating with everybody. So thank you for coming. And thank you, Julie, for that nice introduction of everybody. We all felt like, yes. So thank you, Julie. I have a couple questions that I would love to ask each of you. And I would say there is no such thing as your turn and then your turn. I would just say pick up the microphone and then discuss and talk and let each of us know, and also being able to share your thoughts with us. From your experience, what are some of the differences that you see between American Indian tradition or traditional approach to illness, wellness, and medicine, and that of Western medicine? Okay, Keith will start this.
You know, with me, being traditional and comparing it to Western medicine is that a lot of my elders say, you know, we go to the doctor and he gives us all these pills. You know, and what they tell me is that I don't take any pills. So I don't know how you know, how they feel, you know, I only hear what they tell me. And so we go in for, say, diabetes. Now they take a pill for diabetes. Now they take this other pill for something else, which has a side effect. Or maybe the pill for diabetes has a side effect. So you gotta take a pill for that side effect, and that pill has a side effect. So here they are taking a whole bunch of pills. You know, and a lot of my elders, you know, they don't, you know, they just trust the doctor. You know, he's a doctor, you know, he should be telling us the truth, they say. And they don't know if he is or not. All they want is money. That's what they tell me. A lot of our people are coming back to traditional healing. You know, traditional healing, they start like we started outside with the prayer. What we do is, you know, we invite those good spirits in to help us. You know, and then we talk with each other. You know, we talk with the people, and then we hold a ceremony for them. Maybe we'll start with the sweat lodge first, then maybe, you know, one of our strongest ceremonies that we have is the bear dance. You know, and the strongest one that I attend, that, you know, in my own opinion, is the one in Yosemite. They do it the way I was taught, the way I was raised. So listening to some of the people that have gone there was a young boy that had a very severe heart problem, and he sat there and was doctored by these bears. One thing I want to make clear to everyone is that, it's the spirit of the bear that is doing the healing. It's not the human being. The human is just a human being. We're just like everybody else, but that spirit that is working through that person, the spirit is doing the healing. The spirit is doing the work. Like one of my teachers told me years ago, maybe some of you knew him, his name was Raymond Stone. He was a big pioneer in Owens Valley. He said, if somebody says, I'm a medicine man and I can heal you, he says, turn around and run as fast as you can. He said, because that's not a healer. He says, no man can do that. But if a man says, the Spirit works through me, and I can call the Spirit in to help. That's the difference between Western medicine and our medicine. Our medicine is ceremonies. And that young boy, that I was talking about in Yosemite, he could only walk 50 yards, and sit down and had to rest, and had the oxygen tank. Well, after that ceremony, next morning he got up early, and walked to Yosemite Falls and walked up the trail to the bottom of the falls. And his parents didn't know where he was at. They were afraid. Then he came back down. He says, I went to the falls. I feel great. Not just spiritual healing and no sign of film. That's the way I believe. 15 years ago, I had cancer. Or maybe 20 years ago. I don't know. I lost count. But it's through these ceremonies, I don't have cancer. And it's because of the way I pray, the way I believe, and the ceremony. That's our healing. It's helped a lot of people. But I know when it's time to go, and it's my time. I'm not afraid. It's my time. I'll work on this earth as God. And Graham, take me home. Thank you.
Jennifer, Vicki, you guys have anything to add?
Well, I will just add, thank you, Keith, for what you were sharing there. I think the agency that I work for, Fresno American Indian Health Project, one of the things that I really love about working there is I get to interact with people from a lot of different tribes, and there's a lot of diversity in beliefs and thoughts about what causes illness, what can improve wellness. But I think when you look at it from a broader perspective, the difference is really, like Keith was mentioning, from a Western perspective, you get sick because somebody sneezed on you, or you got some germs, and you go into the doctor and they give you medicine, or if it's like maybe mental health, you go in and you talk to a stranger inside four walls and tell them all of your problems, and then they're gonna fix them for you or something like that. And I think the difference is, wellness is really something that you do all the time, and it's taking care of your mind, heart, body, spirit. All of those things together is really what keeps you healthy. And I think regardless of what tribe you're from, they all have different ways of taking care of those things. But as long as you're taking care of, it's a more holistic approach. You gotta take care of those things all along to stay well and healthy. And I think, especially because the agency that I work for is also not a clinic. We don't have physicians there, but we have our most recent efforts are to create more programs that focus on mental wellness. But the way that we do that is a lot broader and includes like social groups and gatherings, and we have to find ways to do that, because we are a nonprofit agency that's funded through grants and things like that. So we kind of have to mesh modern health and what's available and incorporate it with cultural perspectives and beliefs and things that people will find useful. And so some of the ways that we do that is to also have groups, like for example, a stress management group is actually a beading group. So, and where you find wellness in that is when you're working with your hands and you're beading, or there's basketry groups, and you're talking with people. That in itself is healing, and it makes a big difference when somebody's trying to take care of their mental wellness or experiencing stress, to have that social support system. And I think that is something that you don't typically see in modern medicine. It's really, you go to the expert, and this is more, I guess, holistic and community-based wellness, and making sure that you're taking care of all of these different areas. So physical exercise and food and water and all of these things you need to keep you healthy. and the mental, the social, and how you're finding ways to release your stress, and spiritual, and so all of those things are really important for wellness.
And I would echo that. I think one of the things that I see, because I am in public health, is that we typically segregate the two areas of physical health and mental health, even though we recognize on the public health side or in the health areas that mental issues do contribute to what we see with physical health outcomes. But I think in my experience with who I am is that interrelatedness of who I am in my universe around me and my spiritual health, and it's not separating out my mental being different from my physical and treating them separately. But one of the things that we kind of forget is that for many Native people, traditional health is what is practiced, and going to your healer, going to your spiritual leaders, and the complementary medicine is going to a physical doctor. So it's just kind of like reversed for us.
Thank you for that insight. I think a lot of times is that we forget in terms of that holistic approach. I really like that. I know that my parents are retired and they go to the farm all the time, and I always call my mom and I said, Mom, you're so, you've done so much work and you're older now. Why don't you take it easy? Stop going to the farm and do vegetables and things like that. There's nobody around the house to help you eat it. And my mom says, oh, it's not because we're hungry or we want the food. We go there because it's time for us to take a breather, smell in the wind and the air into our body. And my mom said that helps her to feel like she's useful, but at the same time she feels good about herself. And I think it's that approach that I think a lot of times are missing from Western medicine. The second question I have is that I know that a lot of times when a person is in need and they come to seek your traditional healing assistance or guidance, how would you help them?
What I do is, always start with the prayer, and some of the people, I don't work alone. There's always somebody helping me. Maybe, sometimes there's, 3 or 4, maybe 5 people helping me, because I've got to protect myself too. We believe in spirits. Everybody in this room, we believe, has a spirit. So we believe in spirits. The spirits that we work with are the good spirits, not the bad spirits. But we start with the prayer, and we try to protect that person. So what I do is I make a medicine with tobacco and water, and I have that person stand in the middle of it, and then I have them drink water. Water is medicine. Water is life. Then we pray together. I have them drink that water while I pray with them. Then our prayer, we're calling in all these good spirits from wherever they come from, their land, their ancestors. In my prayer outside, you heard me call in the Star Child. The Star Child is the son of the Creator. And I call him in too, because we're told, where I was taught, that the Star Child liked the way that we did our ceremonies. He said that's the way he taught. He didn't say preach. He said that's the way he taught. And he knew what was going to happen to him. So he said he knew he was going into heaven. We call it the spirit world. He said, so if you call me, I will work with your spirits. And we'll work together. So I call in the Star Child with all the spirits, all the good spirits. I call in medicine people from my ancestors, my side of the family. Then I call in the ones that I know that are in the spirit world. I call them all in, all these medicine people that are gone. And then we pray, and then we sing songs to help that person. Then we take them into the sweat lodge and start all over and do the same thing again with songs to help them. We pray them. And if they need more help, then we'll take them to a special ceremony just for them. So that's how I do it. That's the way I was taught. I'm not a healer, and I'm not a medicine man. I want to make that clear to everyone. I just know how to pray, sing, and to help people. I'm just a human being just like you. And it is the spirits that do all the healing for our people, and whoever needs it. But they too have to accept what we are doing for them. And a lot of times people say, there was a lady just a couple of weeks ago, the doctors told her she had a tumor in her stomach. And we did this ceremony for her with the sweat lodge. And I just saw her a couple of weeks ago, and she said there was no tumor. And now she loves our ways, because she believed in her way from back home. But she's living here now. She's on this land with us. So, I told her, we brought your spirits, from your home. We invited them to work together. Because there's only one creator, like I said. And all these spirits work for that one creator. So that healing comes from that person, their ancestors of the land where we're on, and all those other spirits that I invite in. I call them for help. Thank you.
Thank you, Pete. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Well, I am certainly not a traditional healer either, and I don't claim to be a cultural expert in that area, but I do try to learn as much as I can from all the wonderful teachers around me, like Keith and others. But I feel like for my role at the Health Project and what we can do there, it's located in Fresno, so it's in the city, but we've served members from over 170 tribes that live in the Fresno area. And like I said before, that's a lot of diverse beliefs. But what we try to do is when somebody comes in asking for any kind of help, really is just to listen to what they need. And sometimes people do want to be connected to spiritual people or to ceremonies. And it's different for everybody. So we try to connect them by sharing information when there's social gatherings happening, sometimes ceremonies that are open that they can attend, and we really try to look at first if there's somebody from their tribe, or what they're looking for. Like Keith mentioned, they might already believe in a certain ceremony like Sweat Lodge, and maybe they're looking for that. And so there's people in the community that we know do those things, and so we would try to connect them in that way. But from my perspective, it's just very diverse what people need. Sometimes they know already what they believe in, and maybe they just moved to the area or something. Or we also see a lot of youth who have been disconnected for whatever reason. Sometimes maybe they've gone through the foster care system and they've been disconnected in that way, or just a variety of experiences. So they don't necessarily know what they're looking for, but they feel like having that cultural or spiritual connection is really important for their health and wellness. And so in that way, we really just try to help them connect with the things that are always already happening in the community all the time. The tribes in the area have their different gatherings, and most of the time they're all very welcoming about inviting people, and so we just try to connect them in that way.
Mine has been probably just the opposite direction, being because of my position here. I've been asked to come into different clinics and explain to the non-native providers how to integrate back into the native system. And it's something that might be just really simple, but it's also understanding how people view their health in relationship to the physical well-being. And sometimes it's just understanding that, for like diabetes, for a lot of Native communities, an amputation is not just an amputation. There's many kinds of beliefs around what happens if you remove a limb from a person. Some communities believe that their spirit leaves their body at that point, or that if they go to the next spirit world and they don't have their foot, how are they going to hunt? So, and then understanding that we don't just see death as the end of this process, there's that moving to the next world. So how do you approach, a Native person's belief system with a culturally sensitive approach and what that's going to mean? I know when I was in Utah, we had a situation where a young man had an osteosarcoma, and the standard treatment would have been to amputate his leg. If he were to have lost his leg, his spirit would have left his body, and his community would have deemed him as dead. So how do you return him back to his community when he has no spirit now? So working on that side of what other kinds of treatments or approaches could be brought in to work within the system that this young man has. My concern is you send him back and he has no support system. That's a horrible situation to put somebody in. So I'm usually brought for the other side of looking at, okay, so how do we work with the person from a cultural perspective to address what the needs are, and how do we communicate from the other side back where I had one community asked me to go talk to the providers because it was so culturally insensitive. And how can we better make that fit work?
Thank you, Vicki.
Well, one thing I want to add that I forgot to mention was that some of the people have to live with these prescriptions, this medication. And what I tell them is that, you know, there's a spirit of this medication. In your prayer, I tell them to ask the spirits of that medicine that they take, that prescription that they take, to work with their spirit health and to minimize or remove the side effects. And you know, a lot of our people are just taking, you know, less pills now because of, you know, of that belief, of that strong belief, you know, have the spirits work together, you know, the spirits of that medicine and their spirit and their ancestors and, you know, all the spirits that travel with them, their spirit helpers. So even if it's an angel, you know, because that's a spirit to me too. You know, I'm gonna ask them all to work together to help this person.
Thank you, Keith. And I'm glad that you mentioned that, Keith, because my culture is Hmong, and we do believe in shamanism, ancestor worship. And I know that when we go to the hospital for a certain procedure or for a certain medicine or certain sickness, we also have a ceremony back at home too. And it's all about working the two of them together to make sure that both sides are covered, and also that, you know, whatever it is that you believe in, it's all about getting that person healed and that person well. So I totally and I really agree on what both of you and each of you are here saying. So thank you for sharing that with us. I know that a lot of times for me is that I struggle with what I learned in school about medicine, about belief, and what I grew up with. And my question next to you is, how do you come into harmony with the learned belief and the culture belief regarding health and wellness?
Well, I guess I'll start with that because with my background, and I think that's why I'm in public health, is because we really focus more on prevention and how do we keep people on a healthier side and recognize that they live in a system that I have my own beliefs in. And I look at the balance that I have, and that when I don't have balance, that's when I'm going to start to become ill. So how can I maintain my balance? And when I work in my system here, it's not just about going to the doctor, it's also about what I do every day in my life and how I view how I'm living that brings me that wellness. And the focus is on wellness, not on illness. So it's hard for me to explain to people that one of the things I love is to go out at night under the stars and then look at the universe and pray, because that's what brings me back after my day. And I feel if I don't have that time, that moment for my prayer, I just feel just out of control, out of balance. That's the only way I can describe it.
It is, because it's, I would say it's kind of personal, but at the same time we are living in a society where we're moving fast, but at the same time we're taught from little of how certain things should be, but yet we also grow up in our home with certain things that our parents teaches us. And every one of us in this room come from some culture, from some background and some belief that we carry with us. So how do you find harmony in balancing the two of who you are?
I think the other thing is that you always remember where you come from. I never forget where I come from. And there are many practices that I still engage in because that's who I am. And that's the values that I have and the culture that I carry with me. Sometimes it's hard for people that are my colleagues to understand some of that. But that's who I am. And maybe I have to live between two worlds once in a while. But I don't forget who I am and where I come from. That's always who I am.
Just a little bit about Jennifer. I knew her grandpa years ago. He had in the center going, you know, he did a lot of great things for everybody, all Indian people in the valley, and she just kind of took over where he left off. You know, it makes me feel really good about her. But living in harmony, it's, like I said, you know, knowing who I am, the way I was raised, you know, what. Little quick story about school. I couldn't speak English when I was, it was broken English, and the school thought it was, you know, I talked backward, because at home, you know, Indian was language. That's all was spoken. So they sent me to school because, my grandmother couldn't read or write. So, but she knew that, she had to send me to school or I'd be taken away, maybe put in a boarding school or just be taken away. They didn't know where I was going, but so I went to school and they sent me home. I was glad to go back home, but they told me, I didn't think about it until, I was an adult. God, they sent me home to learn English, I thought that's what school was for. But I'm not doing too bad now. That's where my teaching, I was raised that way. And I learned how to protect myself in a spiritual way. And that keeps me in balance. When I help people, if I go into hospitals, and I help people and I pray with them and we sing, or, I go to funerals, I conduct a lot of traditional ways, for funerals. I have to protect myself. Like I said earlier, water is life. And, I cleanse myself. I make sure I do that. So that keeps me in harmony. That keeps me in balance. Because I don't want to get sick. I don't want to be hurt. But my love for the people, for all of you, for every human being, keeps me who I am. And it keeps me in harmony. That keeps me in balance. It's a love for people. Knowing that, we're all brothers and sisters. We're all children of the Creator. And so that keeps me who I am.
Well, I think this question has been kind of hard for me to answer because I feel like, maybe because of my age. So you just mentioned that my grandfather helped create some of the first programs in the community, and one of those things was the first Indian health facility, which was, still is kind of more Western medicine approach, has physicians and all of that. And so I grew up going there my whole life. But I also, my grandpa, took me around to all of the community gatherings that he was doing. So I feel like my whole life I've always kind of, lived in both worlds in that way. And so it's hard to answer how, because it's just always been that way, I guess. And now it's kind of my job to, most of the grants that comes into the health agency are, they're kind of like written from like a Western perspective. Even if it's an Indian health grant, it's usually, like the language in there. And so I have to figure out how do you translate that language into something that's going to fit the community and include cultural aspects and be useful for the community. And so I guess I'm the translator in that way to figure out how we can have services and gatherings and things like that the community that is really helping the community's health and wellness, and but get it funded through like the Western system to get health things funded. So.
All right, and I'm glad you were the last one because that leads right into the next question that I was going to ask you. In terms of in your unique role, how do you ensure the stability and continuation of your expertise? And I think that goes right into what you were talking about. Whoever want to go first this time?
This question, I was really thinking, I feel one of the most important things that I contribute to and that we do at the Health Project and through our tribe is to develop and sustain youth programs. I think that is one of the most important things because it's the next generation, and there's a lot of things that have harmed the community and that have kind of caused a lot of this cultural, spiritual knowledge to be lost, and tribes and people to be disconnected, but we have the opportunity to, I think we are in the process of healing that and putting it back together, and the youth are, they're gonna make it even better. So I think we have to have those programs so that, like when we do have a health facility and we have these opportunities, a lot of times for a lot of the positions, we hire people from outside the community, and they're great allies, and it's wonderful, and they're very helpful. But we need to see more of our youth in these leadership positions and doing this work. And so I think that's one of the most important things. And then in our tribe as well, the programs that we do there to bring the youth along so that eventually they're the ones that are taking our places.
I think one of the things for me has been sharing with what Jennifer said. My role when I come here, I think I have two different aspects within my department. One is that as a Native woman, that I am a competent professional and I'm in a competent position and we are competent people. We're not stupid, we're not dumb, we're not simple, that we have a lot of skills and we're everywhere. So finding how to connect our youth to competent people as well and to show them that they're capable of doing this. I hear too many of the kids say, I can't compete with the other kids, I'm not smart enough to do that. And so like I've had one kid who came in and said he wanted to be an astronaut. Cool, do you know we have a Native astronaut? So we have people everywhere and our students, our kids just need the confidence. The other thing is that my position has been, they are the guardians of the next generation. They're the ones who will be overseeing all the activities and taking care of the elders and taking care of the communities. They need to have the skills to do that. And it's like in your situation, you have to walk between two worlds to get funding. It shouldn't be somebody else writing those grants for our communities. It should be somebody from our communities who have the skills to write the grants and to take care of the community. There's a lot of people that care about us, that are allies, but their heart is not really with the community and understand the community. We need people who are within our own community to step forward with that. So I think I like to see that that's one of the things that I do and why I appreciate Jennifer, because when I get a student that comes into public health that is really committed, I can say, Jennifer, I've got something just perfect for you. And now I see these students go out and they're doing really good work. But it's just making sure that those opportunities are there and knowing that they're very capable and competent and we need them. So that's where I see my role at this point.
Thank you.
For me, I like working with kids too. As Jennifer said, there are future leaders. And what I tell them is, go to school, learn all you can, and be spiritual. You can balance both of them out. You can live in both worlds, but be the best that you can be. Our people like to work with their hands, I know that. Most of our people like to work with their hands. You don't have to sit behind a desk and wear a tie. I said, you go out there, I said, you could be successful in whatever you do as long as you take care of yourself and that you're happy. And they're starting to understand that, they are important. They are somebody that is a leader. I tell them, what you do in your life, staying away from alcohol, staying away from drugs, and living a good life and being successful. A lot of our people, they're taught by their grandparents, money's not everything. Money's good to have. We need it in this outside world. We don't need it in the spiritual world. Just be comfortable. Be comfortable with yourself. Be who you are, and you're successful. You don't need that $500,000 home or that Mercedes out in front. Just be comfortable with who you are. And then, when someone sees that you're comfortable and you're confident and you're proud of yourself, then the young ones that's looking up to you will want to follow your footsteps. But the main thing is to stay away from alcohol and drugs. But alcohol and drugs leads to gangs. It leads to everything that's negative. I tell them to live a positive life. Be spiritual in whatever way that you want to be, the way you want to live it.
Thank you. Thank you both. Go ahead, Jennifer. Want to take a couple of stuff?
I just wanted to share a little story about Keith's commitment to youth. So we have this youth, it's like a youth summer camp every year. We call it GONA, Gathering of Native Americans. And I won't go into detail about all of the things we do, but in short, we're with 70 Native youth between the ages of 13 to 17 for Monday through Friday, 24/7 at a camp during the summer every year. And the first time Keith came, one part during the during the event, the youth are making commitments about what they're going to do either for themselves or their families or the community, to just contribute. And all the adults that are participating, we make commitments as well. And the first time Keith came, he made the commitment to the youth that he would be there every year for the rest of his life. And it's been about 4 years, and he has been there every year, 24/7, with 70 of those youth. And I thought that was pretty amazing. And it's, people like Keith and others that are just so committed to constantly teaching youth and serving as a role model to them. And I even tell, like our staff that I work with, like, we gotta walk our talk. Like, if we're teaching this stuff, then we have to model it ourselves. And so I really appreciate everybody in the community that does that. And Keith's commitment was pretty cool. And he's held up to it.
Thank you. Well, I would have to say that you guys have been very successful. We had a youth group that was here, and a bunch of us were showing them around the library and all of the different native places and native displays that we had. And we were right here by this elevator, and we were looking at the basket weaving by Lois Connor. And I asked my group, I had 10 people in my group, 10 of the youth here, and I asked them, I said, how many of you guys actually learn how to basket, how to weave the basket, or how many of you guys actually do know how to do it? And I had 4 students that raised their hand and say, I know how to do it. My grandmother taught me, or my great-grandmother used to show me that all the time. So they said they go and they're actually learning that. So you guys are doing a good job in terms of passing down and ensuring that the tradition, the culture is sustainable and being able to continue with the youth. So that's a very good job, and I want to thank you guys for doing that and congratulate you. Anybody have any questions who want to open up the panel to questions that you might have that you want to ask each of our panelists here? Or share some of your stories or some of your experiences with the rest of the group here.
I just wondered, did you bring information from the health project? Do you have any kind of flyers or anything?
No. But the health project is actually really close to Fresno State, so you can
Where is it?
come visit us. It's right past, it's on Shaw, right past Cedar. There's that McDonald's right there. Right, there's a building right after that. It's 1551 East Shaw. Yeah, faihp.org is the website. And I just wanted to mention as well the exhibit that is in the special collections. I hope all of you will have a chance to visit that. And when I was talking earlier about the holistic view of wellness, and I feel like everything that is there relates to health and wellness in some ways. And I really appreciate the Tex family for sharing all of their knowledge and putting that together. And it's really turned out beautiful. So hopefully everybody's able to visit that.
We have another question.
Okay.
It's from me. So in an attempt to keep my own nephew interactive and engaged in what we're talking about, we were talking about like why the body gets sick, what happens to your body. So it's written on this paper, all the different types of things. And I think for the younger people in the audience, from your perspectives of like as Native people, what is your opinion on what happens to our body when we're healing in our traditional ways versus the westernized method? Does that make sense? Like, what are your thoughts and what are your experiences or your opinions about that?
I'm not a doctor.
No, I know, but just...
The Western way, I should say I know, but from what I've heard, that it's just to treat the problem, the symptom, and what happens to our body are those side effects. And I know our medicines that that I can't go out there and just help somebody and tell them, here, go use this, because I'll go to jail. So it's very difficult. But sometimes I tell people, I know this plant, if you use it this way, it could help you. I'm not even supposed to do that. They say I'd be practicing medicine without a license. I know our medicines. That's what I take. I might take an aspirin once in a while, just maybe. But then I'll pray over that, with that aspirin, with the spirit. But I know our medicines do not harm the body. Our medicines are there to cure whatever sickness you have, and not to harm any other organ in your body, only to help. That answer your question? sort of.
So again, like the question, so everyone else will remember, is like, what do you think happens to our body when we try to heal through our traditional ways versus the Western medicine way, in your own opinion and experience?
I think Keith kind of mentioned earlier, like the Western way, a lot of times, you know, you're taking some kind of medication and it has all these side effects. So you're just treating the one symptom that you're having, and then it might create all these other worse ones. Versus, you know, in a traditional way, that more holistic approach, you're taking care of your body all along. So, you know, you're exercising, you're eating healthy foods. If you do get sick, using natural, traditional ways to take care of that. All of those things, I think it's more really about prevention. And so your body's just going to feel a lot better overall, and you're not going to have to worry about all these different symptoms because you're taking care of it all along.
I'd like to speak to that question. I think the Western medicine, I want to make it clear that it treats basically symptoms. It just goes after one problem and it tries to treat it basically putting a Band-Aid on it. And sometimes it helps. But Western medicine is very excellent sometimes at diagnosing physical problems. But the traditional indigenous people's way is more systemic. It gets to the root of what problems are. And it is a lot more spiritually involved. So that's the big difference. Western medicine, they don't get into spirit very much at all. And the drugs are dead. But traditional Indian medicine, if you want to call it that, indigenous medicine, when we use plants, they are alive. And we use other things too. It goes along with the spirit. Thank you.
Any other questions? We'll run right back there.
I'd like to hear more about the role of diet in Native American health.
Let me just say diet is really varied. I come from a community where if I were to talk about my traditional food, it would be clean. It would be elk and venison and turtle and trout. It would be wild rices. So I think when I hear when people talk about a paleo diet now, that would be my traditional diet. My traditional diet doesn't eat a lot of processed foods. I think what I see a change though, and I think you see it across many cultures, is that what would be my traditional diet that takes a lot of time and preparation, of gathering and hunting and preparing. A lot of what I see today is that people take a lot of the easy way out. So instead of eating what I would call clean, hamburgers, pizza, the kinds of foods that many youth are eating now too, and many people are eating. I think what we see then is that you see that shift in health that has occurred, that we carry now many of the same kinds of illnesses, the people and the communities that we're living around. I was amazed when I was some friends from one of the reservations, and it's like, okay, let's go eat, and they all want to go into town and get pizza. And it's like, I think that's where we start to see that imbalance starting to come in. That there's a process of the gathering, the hunting, the preparation, that it does take time, and it's a long process to do this, and it's work. You know, my situation, like I said, I would be looking at very clean meat, but I don't come from a community that traditionally eats, like I have a friend who's from Alaska. They eat caribou. I've never had caribou, and she's never had buffalo. So I think that diet is really varied, but I think part of that process is historically the work that it took to go out and gather, and we were more lean people at that point without the illnesses that we see. I think that there's a lot of history that has gone into where we're at today. And for many people being moved into a confined space of a reservation without the ability to hunt and gather the way we did, that many of the illnesses that we start to see now are really the diseases that we see in other populations who are very sedentary.
In my life, you know, like I said, I was raised very traditional, and we did live off the land. And the only time we went to the store was to buy bacon. But everything else, you know, we ate off the land. Rabbits, deer, not ground squirrels, but gray squirrels. Ground squirrels are scavengers, so we don't eat them. But yeah, I learned how to live off the land. If I could today go out there and live, I would. But I need money. You know, money. I mean, everything's taxed around here. You know? I have to have that money to live out here. But as a kid, I have nothing against Christianity if any of you are Christians. It's just my personal life. Christianity told, well, you know, the missionary or told us not to eat our traditional food. They told us it was the devil's food. Don't eat it. Don't eat your acorn. Don't eat your wild onions. Don't eat your mushrooms. They said that's the devil's food. My grandmother didn't listen to them. We still ate off the land. And I learned how to live off the land. Today's society has taken away our way of living off the land. I mean, I'm guilty sometimes, you know, living here in Fresno. I'll get a burger every, you know, try not to, but I go there once in a while. But, you know, I try to get back to the land, but this drought has taken a lot of our food away. You know, I haven't found any mushrooms in a lot of the year, or wild onions. We live by season. Every season has something for us to eat, and we don't take all. We'll take what we need. And, you know, when I was a little boy, we had a refrigerator, but, you know, the freezer was probably half as high as this here, you know. But we dried all our food. We dried everything, mushrooms, our meats. I killed my first deer when I was 9 years old. I didn't get to eat it because, you know, that's our tradition. The only part of that deer I got to eat was the heart. I had to eat it raw. But after that, you know, I got to eat deer. But it was all, you know, it was all made out of jerky. Everything was dried. Then you know, the next season, you know, if somebody came around, or, you know, we were having a special ceremony, that this dry stuff would, you know, be eaten. And we lived healthy. I know, you know, our people back then didn't have sugar diabetes. They didn't have high blood pressure. You know, their teeth were good. The salt, well, you know, our people down there in Lemoore, the Tachi people, you know, they had salt grass. You know, so we traded them. We had sour berries up here. Like I said, we lived by the season, and we preserved everything. But, you know, I look back at, you know, my teenage years, you know, that's during around the hippie era. When those hippies come out, you know, and, hey, you know, a lot of them were educated people. And they started eating healthy. And the healthy food that they were eating is the food that I grew up with. But now our people, you know, are eating McDonald's and, you know, processed food, not eating healthy. They don't know how to live off the land like I do. I tried teaching them. You know, some of them like it. So, oh, you know, but, you know, they give me that weird look. You ate that? You know, that's good. You know? But, you know, yeah. And this one, you know, I don't have any problems. You know, my liver's good, my heart's good. I gave up smoking, except for ceremony time. You know, my prayers. But, you know, I gave up alcohol. I'm in pretty good shape now. You know, I thank the Spirit. I thank the Creator, you know, for my life today. And I thank, you know, my great grandmother, my great aunt, and all of her relatives, all those people that were in my life when I was a boy, were teaching me how to live off the land. And teach me about water. You know, these dams that they build today, I remember them telling me, you know, someday you're going to pay for water. You know, I looked at the river's way up high, springs are full, lakes were full. I said, how, you know, pay for water? No, they said, oh, it's free. The Creator gave us water for life. It's a gift from the Creator. But look, we have to buy bottled water today. Their prediction come true. But what they said about the rivers and these dams was that, you know, oh yeah, you know, it stores a lot of water for things, but down at the bottom of that river where the water's not flowing is where the sickness is going to come. And our fish aren't going to be good anymore. And things that live in the water, they're going to get sick because the water's not flowing freely to the ocean like it's supposed to. So I think that's what we're seeing today too. Yeah, and believing that Mother Earth is our mother everything that you can see, touch, smell, you know, what you eat, the clothes that we wear, everything comes from Mother Earth. I grew up knowing that what we do to Mother Earth, we do to ourselves. You know, I think it was Chief Joseph got credit, you know, for saying that, but you know, a lot of us Indian people, we knew that already. What we do to Mother Earth, we do to us. So we have to take care of Mother Earth. In my prayer outside, you heard me say Mother Earth, the Father, Son, air, water, and fire. Those 5 things we need for life. Those are our life givers for all of us. And those 5 things is what helps us to live today, to feed us. And they work together to make things better for all of us. They work together for us, and it's free. All we have to do is take care of them and pray for them. Thank you.
Thank you, Keith. Thank you. And with that, I want to thank you and also thank the panelists for sharing your experience and your stories and your thoughts with us. You've given us a lot of things to think about and to appreciate, and for us to feel like we're all part of this together. And hopefully that each and every one of you have learned as much to appreciate yourself and appreciate the world around you as much as we have. So thank you so much for being with us. Thank you, panelists.
Thank the wonderful panelists. Thank you, audience, for coming. Please, please, please be sure to go just straight over there and up to the 4th floor. That's where our local exhibit is. It's very exciting. We have the curators here. The Tex family is here, and they can tell you about all of the different things that are there in the displays.